Compositing. So let's talk about basically putting one person into a different photo. Lightroom is not good at this at all. So other than processing the photos first, which is what I would do, I'd process the photos inside of Lightroom for color and toning and exposure and all that. Other than doing that inside of Lightroom, we're not going to do anything about it inside of Lightroom. So what we do here is we select our photos. We go here, Photo, Edit in, Photoshop. And let's go ahead and we'll bring her into whenever I'm going to composite two images together. So basically we're talking about compositing and selections. Whenever I'm going to do that, I try to get the photo, the compositing photo, into the background as soon as possible. And that way it makes it easier to select, because you might work on selecting it from the background here so it looks perfect, but unless it looks perfect in the other photo, you don't really know. So let's go ahead and copy, paste. Way too big for this photo. So free transform. Can I just maybe drop her right there? Yeah, a little bit smaller. We can resize later. That's a good start. So let's go ahead and we'll click on our photo here. We're going to use the quick selection tool, and we're just going to make a real quick selection. Remember, spend a minute or two at this point just to try to get the selection better. So hold down the Option or Alt key. Get rid of all those little stray areas. Try to get the edges as good as you can. And that's looking pretty good. Obviously, the hair is not good, but we're going to fix that. So we got our basic selection. The best selection tool in Photoshop is hiding behind this Refine Edge dialog box. It should be called the hair selection tool, is really what it should be called, because it works so good. You'll see your different views here too. You got your marching ants, red on black, on white. What's cool, and one of the benefits of putting her into the background first, is you could do it on layers, and it'll actually show you the background layer. So now I don't have to worry, what's it look like on black, what it might not look like on the background. So we might do more work because we can be more forgiving for the background than we could on black. So just get it on the layer, and that way you can see exactly what it looks like. And then the easy thing here is we're going to go to our radius tool. If I just crank the radius up, it's not going to work, right? It starts going too far. But even if I go halfway up, you'll see it does quite a big difference on the hair. That's before, that's after. It's a pretty big difference just from moving a slider. But the problem is it also starts to bleed out some of the edges and everything. So what we're going to do is just bring our radius back down here. And then we're going to take the brush tool, and all I got to do is just brush. I have no idea, it's haphazard. Just brush along the edges. Okay, so this is our original selection. That's what we went in there with, and that's what we end up with. And I'll put it on black just to show you, because you can really see it. That's the original, and that's just a really quick brush. So big, big change. One of the things that you'll notice is it leaves a little bit of gray there. I'll show you one of the things that you can come in here and try to fix. If you go under Decontaminate and start to move that up a little bit, see how those fringes go away? So that's before, and that's after. All right. Looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and click OK. So if you look over here, we've got our layer mask. It's selected out, so now we don't see the background. I'll show you one last little tip. You may or may not see this, but I want to show it to you just in case you come across it. sometimes you'll see a tiny little fringe. In my class, my basics class yesterday, we saw a fringe around the edge. So just a tiny little fringe. You can kind of see a little bit of one here. Easy to get rid of. As much as I tell you guys to use layer masks so things are non-destructive, this is where I have to deviate a little bit from that. So what we're gonna do here, I'm gonna put my selection back around this person. Easy way to do that, just Command or Control click right on the layer. So it puts a selection around her again, and then I just copy and paste. I can turn that layer off. And now I can move her into place. And the reason why I did that is because this next tool won't work with a layer mask. But what we want to do, let's zoom in to where there's a little bit of a fringe right there. You go to the layer menu, go down here to matting, choose defringe, 1 pixel. See that? Before, after. Before, after. So it just beats us going with a tiny, tiny little brush and going around the edge and trying to get rid of it. This way, we just 1 pixel all the way around gets rid of it. Okay, so that is our complex selections and compositing. Again, stuff we can't do inside of Lightroom. All right, panoramas. Lightroom does not have pano stitching in it. So basically, when I shoot a panorama, I'm pretty non-technical with my pano. Like I'll usually be on a tripod and I'll literally line it up, click, move it over, overlap by about 25, 30%, click, move it over, overlap a little bit. Like I find something that I can go with, click, click, click. That's about all I do. I don't have one of those nodal point pano heads or anything like that. Which is why you're gonna see mine come out a little bit crooked, but in the end of the day, you can straighten it. But we got our pano here inside of Lightroom. So let's go ahead and select these photos. We'll go Photo, Edit In, and merge to panorama in Photoshop. And before anybody asks, yes, I would process them in Lightroom first. So in fact, let me show you that really quick. What I would do is, make your adjustments and then shift click to select the other photos and then just hit sync. And it'll synchronize all those adjustments across. But select our photos, merge to panorama. It needs Photoshop for it. So it's gonna use Photoshop's pano stitching. If you guys want a tip for this, my tip would be save small JPEGs first before you try it. Because if, I don't know about you guys, I shoot with a 36 megapixel camera. And you try to stitch together 5 or 6 photos from a 36 megapixel camera, it takes like 5 to 10 minutes. So I learned the hard way. I learned the hard way in a demo too. These are small JPEGs. But I learned the hard way, but just go into Lightroom, go to File, Export, and save out 800 pixel JPEGs. And then go to stitch together the panel. Because not every panel is going to look good. You don't really know until you see it. So that saves you from spending 10 minutes on it. So there's our stitched pano. Every once in a while, I don't know if you guys can see it. You see those little cracks, those little lines? They're not really there. They look like they're there, but they're not, trust me. It's just a rendering kind of weirdness in Photoshop. As you zoom in, you'll see they disappear, so don't think there's anything wrong. But we got our pano stitched together. I'm gonna go to the layer menu. I am going to merge all these visible layers because I don't need them anymore. I don't need all that masking and whatnot. And then, so we could be done here. We could just go to the crop tool and crop out all this stuff and be done. But that'd be no fun. So I can't guarantee this is always gonna work, but try it. Go grab your magic wand tool, and if you click on the transparent area, it makes a selection of it. Remember that content aware stuff we talked about? So if you go to Edit, Fill, and choose Content Aware, it may, and I emphasize may, I really emphasize may, fill in those areas for you.
It's not too bad.
No, it's not. I mean, so what helped us here? Trees, blue sky without clouds. I mean, that's working in our favor. You could see there's some funkiness going on. There is the broken tree at the bottom. But with a little bit of creativity, maybe take your clone stamp tool, go back to normal mode at 100%, take your clone stamp tool and sample. Try to fix that. Paint away the tree to nowhere. But if you just see any weird little patterns, down here is a little bit awkward. And honestly, guys, nobody's going to notice that stuff. Do you know the only people that will look for that? Photographers. You guys will. Only photographers, when there's a picture on the wall, only photographers walk up and put their nose against it, right? Nobody else in the world does. Everybody stands back like, oh, that's pretty. Go to a department store with like a big mural or big photo on the wall sometime. Go like a sporting goods store. And you see a runner, you see a basketball player on the wall or something, go look at it. Go look at how much noise and grain and motion blur and things there are. You'd be amazed. You'll walk up to like, oh God, that must have been like 3200 ISO. Should be shot for that. I mean, you'll see it, but normal people don't go do that. Normal people just enjoy the photo. So nobody else is going to do that. Yes, normal person.
Well, since you're an outdoor photographer and you're shooting a lot of the pano scenes, when you go to bring them over as layers, have you found in the merge, is it easier to just merge them all because they have the various different sort of perspectives? So is it easy, do you find yourself having to choose which one to use, the auto or when to use the other?
So I think your question is when we go to photo merge, and we get into, here, let's go to photo merge, add open, oh crap. We gotta find something with, there's a bunch of options in there. I'll try to show you, when I finish this photo, I'll try to show you. But there's auto, perspective, cylindrical, all those things. The easy answer is just choose auto. I don't ever choose anything different. If you get way into panos, and there are 360-degree stuff, but I just choose auto all the time. All right, so you saw our trees down there, and then you'll see some blotches in the sky. Easy ways to fix that might be go to the patch tool. Whenever you see a blotchy area, the way the patch tool works is you just lasso a selection, and then you drag it over something else. And it melds all that stuff together. So if you see any of those blotchy areas, saw another one kind of over here, it's a little bit, don't do that. So that's another way to go in there and try to help fix those things. All right, when you're done, file, save, close it, and you will be back over into Lightroom, and you will have our pano. Yeah, there's a couple areas I would have fixed too. And obviously, I spent all that time with that tree. I probably would have just cloned that tree out, to be honest with you, just get rid of it.